Okie doke, okie doke.
Oh, America! Are you serious? It is showtime, baby! Here we go! Ram Jam Slam! Man, it's awesome, baby!
360 Mindset, sharing skills and thrill wrapped by stories from elite performers and your favorite sports pro. So take your first step. Speak your first word with a foundation of positive thought that comes from 360 Mindset and your host, Coach Whiteley. Oh, Whiteley. Let's get started. No excuses and no regrets.
Well, that's exactly right. We got no excuses, no regrets, and that goes for the finals of the NBA in 2017 tonight. Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Golden State Warriors. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to share things about performance and how the performance of the past 3 games have resulted in a 3-0 record for the Golden State Warriors over the Cleveland Cavaliers. And also talk about who's going to be the MVP. Is it Steph? Is it LeBron? Or maybe it's Kevin. Hopefully you'll weigh in. You can call in at the studio today. We're going to ask you to call in at 720-386-0513 as that wonderful NBA Finals theme song plays in the background. We're going to talk about performance and what it means to be a performer at the highest level with the NBA Finals today. Game 4 tonight. Now I have to show you people right here. Okay, this is where I'm at. 2008. I'm a Boston Celtics fan. I got to admit it. Even though lately the Boston Celtics, a lot of different trades, things have happened the last 3 or 4 years since the 2008 championship. Many of the guys that were on this team are now broadcasting, or they're in the twilight of their career, as some might say. But even with those young men, okay, they had to perform. And performance in its most strictest terms means you put yourself out there. You're on stage. And nowadays, as I said in my extra point segment this week about performance, performance is you're on a stage. And our stages these days are any number of places. I'm on a stage this morning. You're on a stage when you tweet, you text, you send an email. Those are all stages. You're putting your efforts out in front of someone, and you're going to get an evaluation. Whether you hear about it or not, you're going to be evaluated. Your performance will be examined. So that's what we're talking about today, performance. And as we come into our mindset segment, our first segment of every show, I'm also going to remind you about what other people have said about performance in our intro here this morning, and ask you about this. Is performance supposed to be towards a perfection? Can you get perfection? I don't know. I don't think so. My opinion is I don't think so. Perfection is something we think about and we strive for. As Coach John Wooden said, multiple NCAA champion at the UCLA Bruins basketball team, Coach Wooden said that perfection is something you strive for, but performance to perfection is what you produce. It's a process. And we talk about that all the time, about a process. And I'm wondering what kind of process is going through the minds of the NBA stars of the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors today and getting ready for Game 4. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in mindset in just a second. But I want to give you another picture, another image. This image, for all of us out there in FaceTime Live and Ustream Live, our international viewers out there, say hey to Peter out there in good old UK, as well as some folks out in Turkey, Indonesia, Dusseldorf, Germany, lots of different places. This is LeBron James, and this is in ESPN magazine. Now LeBron, look at his face is as big as mine. That's amazing how that can happen. Modern technology. Now as I turn this over, on the other side, there's lots of different words on the other side. Things that represent, words that represent what LeBron goes through in his performance. Now, in this case, his performance related to these words is at the foul line. Now, he's at the foul line and generates, wait for this, 67% foul shooting for the season. For the season. I'm saying that in that way because it's not very impressive. Not very impressive at all. He's ranked 104th of the players with at least 100 attempts. So it also qualifies it. Actually, the statistic that makes it a little worse. when you qualify it like that. He has a whole pattern. He has a process. Now, his process isn't quite working the way it should, probably. So I'm guessing maybe there's some components of the process he might want to think about changing. But in the playoffs, he's making some pretty good numbers. He's making some historically high numbers, record breakers for him in some cases, not related to foul shooting, I might say. But I'm leading into mindset by using LeBron James, because we all know that LeBron is an outstanding player, has proven that time and time again in all different kinds of venues, from the Olympic Games to NBA finals, and winning championships as well. But those numbers are still there. So there's still, even at his high performance level, there are still things that he can do to get better. So what does he do? What's the mindset? What does he need to put into his performance routine to improve that foul shooting? Well, foul shooting is an interesting performance area, an interesting stage, as is, I just saw before I started the show, a video that ESPN did. If you remember, I believe it was in Game 3, actually, where LeBron was guarding Steph Curry. And Steph just took him to the hole in a way that the ESPN video editors had to make light of. They created a production where Steph Curry in a puff of smoke would disappear, and then he would reappear, and he would just one-on-one LeBron James to the point, and he laid it up and scored after a while. But that was the scene where LeBron was so taken out of his position that he slipped on the floor and skidded because he stopped so quickly to try to adjust to Steph Curry's one-on-one amazing handles, taking it to the hole. It's interesting to watch the game, and that example is funny to watch as Henry showed it to me this morning on ESPN Sports, the video that they produced. Where is he? Where is Steph Curry? He's here, then he's there, and he's gone. He's like a puff of smoke, a mystery. Now, before I'm going to pause just a second, because before I forget it, I want to make sure I say good morning to a lot of wonderful people out there, family in particular. Good to have family around you. Say hello to them, and thank all the great people that make it happen for me to be here every morning at KUHSdenver.com to bring you 360 Mindset Performance Talk. It was a really interesting experience for me recently to just be around some really creative people, and it helped me put the show together today. And they reminded me that, if you're going to perform at something, it would be helpful to know what it is you're going to deliver in your performance. So one of the mindset things that I wanted to make sure I emphasize this morning is goal setting. We talk about it a lot, but it's really important to set goals. Now here's why. Because in your performance, there's a level of integrity that represents the highest level of performance. So if let's say, for example, you said, I've talked about SMART goals before: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. SMART goals. And, we can say those words and, and talk about them and feel good about the talk and that, I understand what that means. But I was reminded that when I was putting the performance show together, let's get down to absolute results, that whatever I talk about performance, I'm going to do something that works. So I set a goal. Here's the example. I set a goal to ride my bike to the studio today. My bike's in the studio. I can see the rack right here behind me. There's the rack right here. And I've got my Colorado, this is legit, here it is, Colorado biking shirt. There it is right there, promoting the big race. I love this. It's the pro race that happens up there in Summit County and what have you. And there's the shirt for everybody to see. All right, we got that going on. Colorado to Aspen. It's awesome stuff. They stop off at Copper Mountain, okay? Now, for those out there in the European arena that were listening to 360 Mindset Performance Talk this morning, we're not competing necessarily directly with Tour de France, okay? It's our version of a great bike race, and it's growing interest in it. But my point is that I wanted a bike ride today. Bike ride to the studio. It's about 4.5 miles, not a big deal. But making a plan to perform at my best so I get here safely and on time, I had to make sure I go through a checklist. And there's a way to set a plan that represents who you are. So if you're out there planning, I'm adding this little nuance to the discussions we've had in the past about planning and setting goals. Make sure the SMART goals represent who you are and what you can do. Because if you don't do that, it's going to be hard for you to understand, what can I do better? Because when you set a goal to go to a bike ride, I know I need to be hydrated. I better have some water with me, because if I don't, I'm not going to have a good time on my bike ride. So I got my water on my bike. So make those plans that fit you, and so that your mindset is well within the scope of who you are. Now, I'm going to come back to LeBron James at that point. So LeBron James, 67%. That means out of 10 foul shots, which I believe he's averaged 10 or more foul shots during the NFL playoffs. NFL, I keep saying that. NBA, because I got an NFL document right here next to me. That's why I'm saying it. NBA, NBA, NBA. The NBA Finals, he goes up to the line, and he may not be thinking about a process, a set of goals for his foul shots that really fit who he is. And that he's got to be sure to focus on things that he's comfortable with. Now, for example, on this little list I gave you, he's got his words: knees bent, dip to my knees. He spins the ball or don't spin the ball. Should I blow into my fist again or not? He's got all these things going through his head. Now, I'm going to say this. I'm going to give him a little secret, because I teach foul shooting technique to teams that involves breathing, kind of a meditative state. I'm going to give him this little piece of information about foul shooting. Simplify it. Simplify it. Too many things going through your head. One, you may not remember them in a competitive moment when you really need the shot. Two, by simplifying it, you begin to think about keeping it within who you are. So it's simplified steps. And the third thing is rhythm. Make sure it's a rhythm that you're comfortable with. It's a pattern of shooting that takes advantage of who you are and puts you into that skill set. So I'm looking at you out there, people. I'm looking at you at the cameras. So you're the basket. And I'm going to sit here. I'm going to see the basket. I'm going to see the target I want to get. As I'm doing that, I'm feeling where the ball is. I put the ball exactly where I want it to be. The minute I feel physically I'm ready to go, I then put the mental thing in place. And that's started by breathing. Big breath in through my nose, out through my mouth. I rock it up, and I finish. That's it. Oh, gosh, I gave him all of my clues, my keys right there. No, I didn't really. But here's the point. If you want to perform, there's a rhythm and a method of setting goals that fits you. Make sure you're not too complicated, so that your mind is cluttered with too many thoughts. You keep it simple. It's what people have told me in the past, the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. And they added the stupid in there because they were talking to me. I don't know why that was, but that's my humor for this morning, by the way. All right, so mindset. We're setting a mindset. NBA Finals today. What is the mindset? What should be the mindset? Call me up. Let me know what you think about our mindset segment. Say that fast a couple times. 720-386-0513. And share with me what you think these players should be thinking about in getting themselves ready for the fourth game of the series. In particular, Cleveland. LeBron James, record games he's had. But what's been happening to his other teammates? Like Mr. Love, for example, 6 steals in the first half of the game, almost non-existent in the second half. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm sorry. I like Love. He's a good guy, and he's an outstanding player for Cleveland. But in the latter part of the third quarter and fourth quarter, he wasn't as present. One, because he kind of tweaked I'll say knee, calf, ankle thing. We weren't quite sure what he did when he stepped on Kevin Garnett's foot trying to rebound, but he tweaked something again. Again, the leg that's been bothering him for a while. But call in, share with me. What's your thought? What do you think they should do about creating the mindset of a champion and executing it with performance that's going to represent who they are in the moment, and making sure that they get connected? Now, I really hope you call me. Please call me and give us your thoughts on that. But as you're waiting to figure out what you're going to say to me and calling me at 720-386-0513, I will I will sit here and wait for you quietly. No, I won't do that. You know I won't do that because that's not who I am. So I want to share with you, though, something, a little news break going into our first break in our mindset segment about the NFL. See, that's why I was talking about the NFL. The NFL document's right here in front of me. The NFL is doing some great stuff, and they always have with youth. And USA Football is part of those organizations, is an organization that's part of that movement for the NFL and doing great things with youth football. And this is the USA Football is announcing 11 youth football leagues going across 9 different states. They're going to pilot now get this, a rookie tackle program. So it's a way to bridge the game between flag football and 11-player tackle football. The spokesperson Scott Hellenbeck, the CEO for USA Football, said this. This is an exciting step in our sports evolution for the good of young athletes. So I'm not knocking this. I think this is great. The more you can re-emphasize proper technique and proper skill, you're going to get expected performance. And in this case, we want safe and I'm going to say aggressive, but I mean it in the most positive way. Because if you're going to tackle, that's aggressive. But you want to do it right. You want to do it right in a way that's going to be safe for you and safe for the player you're tackling. So I really commend them for doing this so that these young people are prepared to play football at the pad level when they get to the 11-man game. There's going to be, as I said, 11 programs. The one in Colorado is sponsored by the Jeffco Midget Football Association, located in Lakewood, Colorado. There's a lot of them around the country. There's one in Austin, Texas, Cleveland, Ohio, Frisco, Texas, Indianapolis, Indiana, Lexington, Kentucky, Oregon City, Oregon, Philadelphia, PA, Smyrna, Georgia, Westfield, Indiana, and Yaphank. That's Yaphank, Yaphank, New York. That's in Suffolk County, PAL Football League. And I said all the names because I wanted you to get an idea of the depth and breadth of what they're intending to do with this to educate young kids about the right way to tackle. The Mike and Mike show, the co-host of Mike and Mike, said this: our number one priority is to make sure our students learn and grow, while this must happen through the classroom. So they're combining this tackle program with good education in support of the tackle pilot program. So I like that. I like the connection, because ultimately, until they get into the pros, if they get into the pros, they are student athletes. So that's enough on our break for the NFL. That's coming. USA Football introduces their rookie tackle pilot program. When I get dates, I don't see any dates on here. I'll share those with you at a later time. Okay, we're talking about performance today. The title I had behind our theme is, are we halfway in or halfway out? NBA Finals, Game 4 tonight. Cleveland Cavaliers versus the, what's the other team? You know, kind of powder blue with little gold accents, a bridge. Oh, yeah, Golden State Warriors. Well, they've got some great people in that team. I'm going to share a story with you as we bridge into our skills set. That's our next segment. And as I do that, I want to tell you, this story relates to me trying to figure out who I am. So I'm sitting on an exercise bike in a club in Chicago, a club that was near my work. And I came into the club to get ready to play some basketball. And in doing so, I sat down next to somebody else who was on the exercise bike. I paused. I had a brain aneurysm, I think, a really severe thing there. Anyway, I was sitting there, and I was, you're two guys on exercise bikes, nobody else in the place. And I turn and I say, hey, how you doing? My name's Lowell. What are you here for? He said, I'm here for a job interview, and I'm going to be going about lunchtime. I'm going to take me out to lunch, and hopefully everything works out. I'll be in Chicago more often. And I said, so, we talked a little bit more. I said, you like basketball? He said, yeah, I really like basketball. It's been really good to me. Now, he didn't say anything about they played basketball. He didn't say anything he was going to be working around basketball. So we had a great conversation for almost 30 minutes. I get home that night, and on the news, the sports news, they announce, oh, Steve Kerr joins the Chicago Bulls. I said to my wife, that's the guy I exercise biked with. Well, that's gone back a lot of years, and we've kept in touch over the years. So I wish Steve Kerr the very, very best. I hope he's feeling better. I know he looks better. I mean, being on the sidelines is where he wants to be. So how can he not smile? He could be in excruciating pain and he'd still be smiling. But I wish him well. Now I say that, I give you that story because Steve is and was, as a player, the consummate preparer. Almost, to my opinion, as much as Michael Jordan. Now, I've also had opportunities to meet and talk to Michael Jordan over the years, as well as Tim Grover, the guy who trained him, because in that same club, that's where they would work out. And Tim and I, as I had talked to Steve, they prepared based on an agenda that fit them. Steve knew his limitations. And then when he got together and connected with a Michael Jordan, who knew his limitations, believe it or not, he knew that he had certain limitations to his shooting. Steve would be quick to say his three-point shot was the one shot that he could probably get most often because he wasn't big enough and you know, from a physical specimen point of view to attack the basket often and survive for a long time in the NBA. But if he could work and connect with teammates that would penetrate, draw defense, and kick to him, in my opinion, the Bulls were one of the first teams to start that routine out of the triangle offense of that, you know, penetrate kick to open up people like John Paxson and Steve Kerr for open three-point shots. Where on the other side of things, even though Michael Jordan prepared constantly his skill of shooting, he would not have been a person to admit he was a very good three-point shooter. Do you remember the game against Portland where he runs down the court after making his third three-point shot and it goes like this? He raises his hands up by his side and kind of like back to the, as the cameras capture him, he's going like, I don't get it. You know, like he's even amazed at how many three-point shots he's made in that game because that was not his focus. And he would practice shooting within a certain range that fit him. And his goals for his process were certain things: footwork, squared up, elbow in, follow through, constantly watching the basket all the way to follow through. LeBron James is the same way. We showed you the picture on the ESPN magazine of LeBron and the different statements he makes. He goes through a process. There's certain things that he knows he's got to do to make the game and his skills work. The same thing with Steve Kerr. What they're describing for themselves and what they use is getting to a normalcy, a set of actions and behaviors that are normal for them. And after they do them for so many hours and so many repetitions, you've heard people like Peyton Manning talk about the 10,000 hour rule. Michael Jordan coined that phrase back in his day. You know, 10,000 hours of one particular activity will generate the necessary amounts of nerve tissue, myelin, to get your body and your mind connected in a way that that memory, that muscle memory, is locked in to the kind of performance that you want. Well, that creates a normalcy. And one could say, well, that's awesome, right? That's awesome. Well, it is awesome until you want to go to the next level. So on a skill side of things, what would cause you to go to the next level? What challenges you? There's a question for my audience out there. Call in 720-386-0513. See if you can give me some of what is your normalcy when you perform. What are some things you count on that need to be there? Give us a ring and let us know what your thoughts are on the skill sets that you require to get you to maintain a normalcy, so the awesomeness of who you are comes out on the floor, on the court, or on the field of play. It's important to note that because the skills are hard to get out of you if you don't have a plan going in. And part of that planning on the skill side of things is knowing what you can do in the preparation process to open yourself up to be able to deliver. Now, lately, I've been talking to a lot of people about the use of yoga, meditation, and massage therapy. And then I've added to that nutrition. Now, those are some touch points within your whole makeup, your holistic framework that help to stabilize and enhance at sometimes certain aspects of who you are. For me, I call it a connection. I'm making a connection between my physical body and the mental side, the chemistry of that mental side, connecting with the physical side, so that if I'm playing a really tough game and I'm competing against really high, they're challenging me constantly, going up and down the floor, like in an NBA Finals, like when Steph Curry challenged LeBron James one-on-one, and poof, Steph Curry was there, and then poof, he was gone again. That was a funny video, Henry. I loved it. But there are things you want to do to prepare yourself to be able to actually do that and excel. Well, meditation, that's the mind right. Mind right, game tight. Get yourself in a place that mentally you're creating the images of what excellence looks like. And then using things like yoga and massage to maintain that body chemistry that flows through the muscles, that penetrates into your circulation, so that you are constantly, when your brain is asking your muscles to twitch and to flare into a place that you need them to jump, as the PF, for all of us that are old enough to know this, PF Flyers commercial, run higher, or run faster, jump higher was their commercial. And I was a kid, a PF Flyers were my favorite tennis shoe. But to do that, you've got to be properly focused and have an agenda, a set of goals to do that. Now we add the nutritional connection. So I'm always interested in what are people eating to get kind of juiced up in a good way, a positive way, with that energy you need to make those things happen. Now, as we come up into our next break here pretty soon, I want to make sure that I build a bridge between the skill set and then the mental conditioning. So I'm talking about the physical side of skill set development and delivering those skills by using tools like meditate, get in the zone. In later shows, we're going to talk about music and environment. We'll talk a little bit about environment here today and the influence of environment on performance, because apparently with the Golden State Warriors, it doesn't matter what gym they're in. It doesn't matter if there's a bunch of gold shirts in the audience at their home court, or they're in Cleveland at the Cavaliers arena. In either case, they're making it their own home. So with that being said, let me give you a story about a team making it their own home when they're going to play a team that is historically far better than them. Here's the Red Tide, Alabama football, in their own arena playing a non-conference opponent, the Colorado State Rams. And for those of you who follow Broncos football, one of the players on the Colorado State Rams football team at the time, playing linebacker, was Shaq Barrett. And Shaq and I were standing on the field watching our pregame warm-up, and Shaq was taking a break between his rotations, and we were watching the arena, and the place was going crazy, and we could see that the CSU Ram teammates of Shaq were kind of, oh my gosh, the noise and the size of the crowd. And we still had another 30 minutes or more before the game was even going to start, and yet the crowd was so big, and the banners of the jumbotrons were showing all these things about Alabama football. It was rather intimidating. It was like being in the middle of the game and hadn't even started yet. So I said to Shaq, I said, you got to help me get your teammates to make this noise their own and to walk around encouraging the crowd to bring more noise. Like, we want it. It's ours. Own it. It's our stuff. Well, I don't know how much of an impact that had, but when it comes to Shaq Barrett and the talk he and I had, I know that his performance in the game was outstanding. He sacked the Alabama quarterback maybe 2.5 times in that game, and got notoriety that hopefully helped him to get the position he's got now with the Broncos, the Denver Broncos. But that's a control of environment. Your performance, that theater, that stage that team was going to perform on, the stage in Cleveland tonight with LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Garnett, Mr. Love, not the Love Doctor at KUHS, but Mr. Love, the big power forward or center. I'm not sure which position I want to put him in. I think he's listed as a center, but I mean, gosh sakes, he had 6 steals on the first half in Wednesday night's game. That was amazing for a man his size. That's a testament to his athleticism. But they've got to control the environment. They've got to Cleveland's got to make it their own. and use whatever powers in the locker room or pregame today in feeding themselves nutritionally. So they're promoting that good circulation and that energy in the blood system, the energy in their nerves that activates the muscles to make sure that the skill, that normalcy, the normal thing they expect of being an excellent performer, an NBA all-star performer, it comes through. And making sure that they do things to deliver a good position for themselves on the floor. I know for me, you've got to be present to play, and for me, a lot of my friends has struggled with time management and being on time to participate in great events like this. So I hope they're going to be on time. So as we take a break, coming up to our next break, 30 minutes after the hour, we're at KUHSdenver.com. This is Lowell Whiteman, your host of 360 Mindset Performance Talk, every Friday at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. I want to talk to you a little bit about how do you know who you are, really? I mean, I've been working at my career for a long, long time, and only recently did I find with a colleague a tool that helped me measure my own personal desires and what drives me. Why do I do what I do? And I've been asked that a lot over the years. Why did you do that? And I don't know. It's important to know, because it's hard to improve on things if you don't know what you're doing, or you can't give somebody an answer. Like Michael Jordan. I got 3 more threes. Well, he knew why he did it. He practiced. He focused on it, and he got better. Well, there are some things that aren't shooting the ball. They're not hitting the ball. They're not catching the ball. They're not running up and down the court. They're things you have to feel. But they still deserve practice. But it's hard to practice something if you don't know, where am I at right now? So there are measurement tools. I've developed a measurement tool for me to understand what people are doing. It's called an RMP16. You go to my website at 360mindset.com and take the RMP16. It gives you a measurement of your human desires, 16 human desires that were scientifically selected after 30 years of research to define what are the primary areas of human desire that the human being is interested in. And we've discovered 16 of them. We measure them now. We have a device, a method of doing that measurement and getting you a number about how desirous are you of having order, being organized. How desirous are you of having power or control or vengeance or tranquility or food? All of these 16 factors, when put together, starts to define who you are as a person. Well, that's the RMP16. Helps you to define who are you, so that you can begin to answer questions about, why am I here? Did I make a good choice? Did I set goals that fit me? Check it out at 360mindset.com on the RMP16 tab. All right, we're into our mental conditioning stage. As I do that, I've got to go to one of my favorite songs, as you all know. This is one of my favorite songs. Got to breathe, right? Because in the mental conditioning stage, this is where we start to marry the mindset with the skill. And we really focus on tools like meditation, yoga, massage therapy, and nutrition. When all those components are together and you know why you're using them, you can perform. You're not halfway out, you're halfway in. You are in. It's, the glass thing, half full, half empty. We're half full. Optimistic, positivity. So the mental conditioning part we're going to talk about is emphasizing on environment and familiarizing yourself with your surroundings so that you see everything. So what are some of the things I can do? What are some of the skill sets I can do? And most of the skills you can develop, the drills or practice routines you can use for your mental conditioning, are directly related in some way, or shape, or form to your 5 senses. And breathing is one of them. And that's exactly right. When you are connected, you're going to get set free. You're going to have a mental condition that is truly representative of who you are and what you want to do. And you have answered the question in its greatest form. Why am I here? You have an answer. And when you have that answer, you're present. I don't think LeBron James and the entire team of the Cleveland Cavaliers have been present for 4 quarters. I want to see a competitive game. I am not a Cleveland Cavalier fan as a team. I don't follow them much. I still try to hang on to my Boston Celtics 2008 championship year. But I go way back with the Boston Celtics. Red Auerbach. That's how far back. When they played Jerry West in the battles between the Lakers and the Knickerbockers and the Philadelphia 76ers and Dr. J. Guys like not Jerry West for Boston, but Larry Bird, and going against Dave DeBusschere. Those are the days for me. But I want to see competition. They need to be present tonight to be able to connect with each other so that they are pushing teammates to get better. And then, because they're going to get their opportunities. LeBron James is going to score his 30 points. It's going to happen. And if Love is healthy, he's going to be at least a double-double in the rebounds and points area. And he may actually get 6 more steals. But they've got to be present. They've got to create a mental condition for themselves that allows them to be present. Heck, even though it's their arena, I would recommend going in early and touch the seats, sit in the front row, feel the floor, smell the floor, whatever it takes, and then bring that feeling of connectedness to the physical arena to your teammates. Shake their hand, look them in the eye. I'm there for you. I'm going to push you around this circle of success we're going to create in this game and make it happen. That way we're going to have a game. We're going to have a competitive game. The mental conditioning has been put to play so that it's connecting my mindset about, you can want to win all you want. You can desire perfection all you want. You still got to perform it. You still got to get out there and apply what you've learned and practice with those skills to make it happen. So mindset connection with skills is creating the strategy for a mental condition. It's not about swagger. It's about self-awareness that gives you the swagger. So I'm going to emphasize again for the Cleveland Cavaliers to got to get connected, man. You got to get connected and stay focused on each other so that you can see when to drop back on defense. You can see when the man is coming off the screen at the right time to get him the ball so his feet are set, he's squared up, and he can take a good shot. Make or miss. You give him a chance to get into the process to make it happen. Now, on the other side of things, the mental condition. Do you think Kevin Garnett is thinking about MVP right now? I don't think so. Got my S on my shirt here, my Superman shirt on from Under Armour right here. Love this shirt. I've got other ones, but I'm wearing Superman today for a reason, because there are 3 young men on the teams, 2 of which are on the Golden State Warriors team, that are Superman qualities in the NBA, or they wouldn't be in the finals. They just wouldn't be there. And so that's why I'm wearing my Superman shirt, because one of them is going to be recognized as a Superman. But I can almost assure you that none of these 3 young men are thinking like Superman. They're not thinking like their chest is pumped out and that they're a Superman. They're thinking like Kevin Garnett thought when he was interviewed after Game 3, and he knocked down a 3 when Cleveland was up. I believe it was 214 to 212, or maybe it was 213, 211. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, not 2. 114 to 111. I'll get it right here in a minute. 113. There it is. 113 to 111. So Golden State was down by 2. Kevin dribbles down the floor. LeBron is on him. He sees LeBron back himself up underneath the three-point line. He stops and pops a three-point shot in rhythm, constant flow and control, and drops it. Now they're up by 1. That lead was sustained through the rest of the game, and they won the game for their 3rd win, 3-0, and undefeated throughout the entire playoffs. So at the end of the game, Kevin was interviewed about that. And the interviewer was saying, you have ice in your veins. Man, my gosh. I think it was less than a minute to go. You come down the floor, dribble like there was nothing, it's like practice, and boom, stop and pop, and you drop the three-point shot. He said, that's exactly right. I saw LeBron, he's talking process. I saw LeBron's heels go below the three-point line. I do this in practice all the time. I'm constantly practicing. That is my shot. And he drops it down. He has mentally conditioned himself with a preparation process that puts him in that place. So he can see it. He sees the environment. He sees the players in those spots and gets it done. Oh, I have a call. I have a call right here. How about that? Excellent. Caller, are you there? Caller, are you there?
Hello.
Good morning. How are you? This is Lowell Whiteman on KUHSdenver.com. Who am I talking to?
My name is George.
Hi, George. What do you have to share with us? Talk to me about anything I've talked about so far about the NBA Finals tonight, and who do you think is going to win, first of all, and which of three guys, Curry, LeBron, or Kevin Garnett, is going to be the MVP?
Well, I was listening, I like your conditioning phase about, being ready mentally. But, one thing that I still haven't heard, there are some people, or the Tiger Woods, like you say, the Larry Birds, and like these guys, I think they're a prodigy, I haven't heard you use that word, although there's not that many. That's why these people are, I think, fantastic, is they're really like born to it,
Well, George, I'm not going to disagree with you because most of them have had a basketball in their hands since they were very, very small. But I'll ask you to consider changing the word prodigy to Hall of Famers. I don't think there's a question at all about those three young men are Hall of Famers, and they're all stars already. And yes, I think there's a lot to be said in agreement with you about them being prodigies. They've got the skill set from almost birth. I mean, how many guys can act like a point guard, perform like a point guard, and be as big and as powerful as LeBron James? I mean, people thought Larry Bird was that person back in the day.
But they do. I mean, when you look at them, they become freaks of nature because, as you know, just like in football or anything else, they're getting bigger and faster all the time. It used to be that a good split end was no higher than 6 foot. Now you got these guys running speeds and they're 6'5", 6'3" is like average now. Linemen used to be 260 was great. Now they're 340. It's amazing how all these sports they're just getting bigger and bigger.
Well, and George, you make a good point about the athleticism of positions that typically were, like, say, quarterbacks were not necessarily known to be the fastest of foot. But now we've got quarterbacks that can outrun their wide receivers. So you have to ask yourself, are we recruiting quarterbacks or should we be recruiting athletes? And I think the NFL in particular is going to recruit athletes.
Getting back to that again, and that's this seems to be most of the rap is that, who's the greater than who. But, eras are different, just like we said. Back in the day, to me, he's still the greatest player, and you don't hear hardly anything. You were talking about Boston with their center for all those championships they won. What about 11 with them? Bob Cousy and those guys go way back to those guys.
Yeah.
Who was their center? I forget. He was only like 5'11". I mean, 6'11". What was his
from Minnesota, not Kevin. Kevin McHale. Kevin McHale.
No. I'm talking way back when Bob Cousy was playing and you had John Havlicek and those guys way back then. He was their center for all those years.
Well, you got Bill Russell.
Bill Russell.
Yeah. Bill Russell was, and Bill Russell wasn't even 6'11", George. Bill Russell was 6'9".
Yeah. He was not, and you don't get him in the conversation. You get Michael Jordan. You get, what's his name now, LeBron, KD. But I tell you, to win 11, because how are you going to measure these guys? I think the way you measure them is certainly by how many championships they win. Because there's a lot of great players in the NBA. They're just not paired up right. You know what I'm saying?
Well, absolutely. And George, you're making my point for me about the quality of the connection. Because like Love on the Cavaliers team is a lot like Bill Russell. He's not the quintessential center at 7 feet plus. He's, that 6'10", 6'11" guy, but he's athletic. He outplays anybody bigger than him.
Well, that's true. I agree with you. But again, it goes like you said. It's a mindset going into their whole career. I think that starts way back when they're in high school. Even some of these guys that they start getting groomed because people see the potential in what they are and what they can do. It's like I've done this. I've gone up and had to perform and no, you're just taller than everybody else. You're not really, but mentally, you just feel that way because you have to feel that you're just that good, when you're doing these things, when you're out in front of the masses the way they are nightly. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, performance. That's our theme for today is performance. George, let me ask you a question. How are we doing at KUHS Denver with the 360 Mindset Performance Talk Show? Are we hitting the target for you? Do we need to do anything differently?
Well, I mean, you really have a broad sort of a topic because it does go, from one extreme to another. You wonder sometimes how some people, with their talent, are where they are, and others have worked, like you say, from young kids and not give it to them, they have to earn everything. So yeah, there sure is a cross in this topic of what it takes to be, but mentally prepared goes, I think, pretty much if you're going to be successful at anything, you must be, like you say, relaxed, for sure yourself, do the yoga thing and all that. I used to practice that all the time,
Hey, George,
you know what's in practice.
Keep listening to us, George. I'm gonna say goodbye to you for today, but keep listening and sharing our thoughts with KUHSdenver.com to whoever your friends are. I'm gonna say goodbye to you today, but stick with us for the future. All right.
You got it.
All right, that was George. I'm really appreciative of him calling in. We're going to have another segment where you can call in again. We're going to be bridging into our last segment, performance results, which George was kind of great at leading me into that. Because, it doesn't matter what genre, what part of history we look at in high performance athletics or high performance anything, the basics of what it takes to be at that level, the performance you have to have for yourself internally to prepare yourself physically is pretty much the same regardless. And to some degree, I think the Cleveland Cavaliers have forgotten some of those components of preparation in the locker room, at the hotel, or at their home, in getting their mindset mentally conditioned to a place where it's connecting their skills in a way that they can reach out to their teammates in a higher level of awareness. Because the performance, it's there. It's there if they make the connection. So we're going to talk about performance results in just a second. We're coming up to our last break of the show. We're on KUHSdenver.com. This is 360 Mindset Performance Talk. Remember, every week prior to the show, we do a segment called Extra Point. You can find that on 360 Mindset on Facebook. We'll also reproduce Extra Point on Twitter, as well as our YouTube channel. That's Coach LKW1. Become a subscriber. Coach LKW1 on Facebook, and take a look at our past history of 360 Mindset Performance Talk shows and Extra Point. Extra Point are those little quick 2 to 5 minutes max, maybe 2 to 3 minute vignettes of thought that we share with you. This last week was about performance. But if you want something more than that, go to 360mindset.com and our website, and sign up for a consultation. I can share these ideas in more specific terms, especially after you do an RMP 16. Do an RMP 16, get those measurements of human desires, sign up for a consultation within the 360 Mindset RMP 16 consultations. You get 30 minutes of time with me, whether I FaceTime you or come and see you in person. We would talk about your results and sculpt those into a really focused plan of performance for you and strategies for you as to optimize your performance. And that's whether you're an athlete or an executive. Our focus is on optimizing elite performers' performance, be it professional or amateur athlete or that senior executive. Because time management is time management. Eating properly to have the energy to get through the day is regardless the same for everybody. So performance results, we're in our segment. So before we go into that, one last reminder about 360mindset.com. Check it out. Sign up for your consultation with yours truly. I want to say another thank you, though, and a reminder that we've got some wonderful people out there in the world. I keep saying hello to Peter, out there in the UK, because I keep thinking about Manchester. and the wonderful work as far as performance goes. My gosh, Ariana Grande and the group, the Black Eyed Peas were there, Justin Bieber was there, Katy Perry was there, showing their love and care for that audience. A lot of emotion, but I think one of the best pieces of that I saw was the results they got in the connection they made, a genuine connection they made to the UK that reinforced the historical connection we've had with the United Kingdom and Britain from the Americas, and how we've grown and developed and nurtured and protected one another for hundreds of years. And that just came through smashingly during that concert, the little bit that I saw. So heart and thoughts go out to that group of folks across the pond, and the performance results that they showed there. I mean, look how quick that was. You know, to be that proficient and responsive, you have to clearly have understood goals that you've created and executed over the years to be able to put that together that quickly, and such a high quality. It really was amazing to see that come to fruition in such quick order. Can you imagine the adjustment that those entertainers had to do to adapt to where they were? They weren't all in England, in Manchester, waiting for Ariana to call them and say, "Hey, I need you to show up at a concert, 2 weeks from now." That just doesn't happen with those big operations and those big stage sets that they have. So knowing yourself really, really well plays a big part, I'm sure, in their being able to put that together. So performance results. Let's have some more callers and talk to me about who do you think is going to win. 720-386-0513 at KUHSdenver.com. This is Lowell Whiteman, your host of 360 Performance Talk on Fridays, 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Who do you think is going to win the contest tonight with Golden State and the Cleveland Cavaliers? To see if I'm going to say it out loud. I don't really necessarily believe it, because I'm a Golden State Warrior fan because of Steve Kerr, their head coach, and just the fact they're just playing lights out. They're just playing lights out. They are truly connected. But I want to see Cleveland come back and compete. And some might disagree with me. And if you do, call me up, 720-386-0513, and tell me, no, Cleveland's been competing. They've been playing hard. They just got some bad breaks. No, there's no bad breaks. Are they connected? Do you believe or hear what I'm saying about they're not connecting with one another? They've got 3 or 4 players at any one time that are playing their own game. Not because they're selfish necessarily. They may be overcompensating. J.R. Smith, for example, that young man, I can watch him on the court, and I know when he's pushing too hard and he's overcompensating, thinking he has to put the game on his shoulders and step up and play harder. Well, when he does that, he's playing alone because he's not connecting. He's not connecting in a way that his teammates really understand what's going on. And maybe because he's been doing it so often, they just get out of his way. So not only are they not supporting him, they're drawing attention to him even more. So it makes it easier for Cleveland to defend it. For Golden State to defend it. So performance results, if not properly connected with your teammates before you start to perform, could affect the outcome that, no matter how much you envisioned it coming off the right way, isn't going to, because you're not making a legit connection with your teammates. Here's an example. Michael Jordan, I know from passing the ball to him years ago while he was practicing. I got tired. And he kept going. The guy was shooting 500 plus a day of just jump shots between 12 and 15 feet, because that's his money. His fade, his penetrate and fade, drop, jump and fade would put him at about a 15-foot release point. He would practice that 500 or more times every single day. Well, why would he do that? Because the performance results against the competition he was playing against were going to be impacted negatively if he didn't practice that way. He was not going to get the results that he envisioned. The goal that he had was to make those shots. His expectation, from the horse's mouth, his expectation is every time he shot the ball, he was making it, with one exception. 3-pointers, which over time he kind of started making those too. But that's what it takes. If you want to go from a mindset setup to match up with your skills so that you can mentally condition the repeated delivery of a thought to an action that's going to result in performance that's what you expect, you got to practice. You got to make it happen every single day at a level that works for you. And that's what Michael Jordan did. Now, here's another thing that Michael Jordan did. You go into practice. Steve Kerr, for example. Steve Kerr, as a coach, knew from his ability as a player that he not only had to practice a lot, he had to have a strategy, a game plan that everybody understood. Because for him to excel at his game, everybody had to know about Steve's weaknesses, and he had to be humble about it. It's not enough for him to walk in a room and everybody goes, well, he probably plays soccer because he's not very tall. But he plays NBA basketball. And he does because everybody knows Steve Kerr is short. But until Steve Kerr says it out loud, they're not going to pay much attention to him. He's not. They haven't heard him humble himself enough so that he can then take the next step of conversation and say, here, this is what I look like coming off a screen. And this is where I need the ball so that I can get my shot off. But when I do, it goes in. Michael Jordan does the same thing, but they're two different people. Michael Jordan walks in the room, you think he might be a basketball player or some sport that requires a great deal of height and athleticism. But at the same time, Michael had a certain way he had to have the ball before his performance results that he expected were going to come through. And then as a team, here's where Golden State has it over Cleveland Cavaliers. And I'm not trying to downgrade the coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's a talented young man. He's been doing this. He's been in the finals before. He knows what it takes. He may be trying to get what it takes, but is not getting it from the players. Steve Kerr has an expectation, and he writes it down. He puts it in play, a game plan that the players understand, subscribe to, and are held accountable to. Steph Curry said that Steve Kerr doesn't get upset a lot. And even when he does get upset, it doesn't look like he's upset. But everybody knows what it looks like when he is upset. And recently, before Game 3, he was upset about the ball movement. They just won the first two. They're undefeated in the playoffs. And he's getting upset about ball movement. Well, why is that? Because the game plan is written in a way that everybody's said that they're going to be accountable to it and take ownership of, and they didn't. That makes Steve's being upset with the players real and legit. No pushback. Because you signed up for it. You said, I'm going to be accountable for this. So performance results from that don't happen to the level of expectation, to the level of the goal you set. Not just for the team within the game plan, but for each part of the team. So he said, guys, you got to move. You got to have a good spread on the floor. You got to pass the ball in a way that the person receiving the ball is going to receive it so they can be productive. We've got to move the ball. Game 3, whole different story. They kept working their game plan, and that was noted by the coaches. That's what kept them in the game. When they were asked, what are the conditions that we created to put us in the game and get us a win? It was staying with the game plan, executing what they know would work, and challenging teammates to do the same thing. Common language, agreement about what the environment needs to look like. Where are LeBron James' heels going to be in relationship to the three-point line so I can then take my three-point shot and knock that thing down? That's what Kevin Garnett's looking for. Performance results combines mindset to skill to mental conditioning. All 4 segments of 360 Mindset Performance Talk. Right here at KUHSdenver.com. This is what we do. We're coming close to closing the show up, but as I think about that, I want to think about saying thanks to some folks and reminding you, hey, listen, go to 360mindset.com, sign up for a consultation. Send me your notes. Ask me questions. Sign up for an RMP 16, whether you want me to talk to you or not. Sign up for an RMP 16 and find out what that value is of your human desires. What is the value of each of the 16 elements that measure human desire, so that you can answer questions for yourself. Why am I here? Without those numbers, it's going to be hard for you to position yourself in a way that you really understand. Why am I present? What do I need to do? If I'm present, if I decided to do that, and I have a desire to be here, this is why I'm here and what I'm going to do while I'm here. My thank you goes out to Henry, as always. He's a great guy. He's given me a great chance here. I really appreciate it. 360 Mindset Performance Talk would only be an idea in my mind. If it weren't for Henry, we're simpatico. Looking for some great events coming up in August for the football season. Keep an eye out on our websites for that, 360mindset.com, as well as on KUHSdenver.com for the next schedules that we're going to be putting out for the month of July. And in the rest of June, we got a great show coming up on intimacy and relationship building, and relationship building's off the floor and off the court, because we hear so many stories in professional sports about, the abuses of women that happen, and the misuse of controlled substances that cause, DUI issues or violent behavior in a social setting that results in regretfully people dying. That's unfortunate. So as I say goodbye for you today, remember, as always, you got to start with a good thought. As Nike would say, just do it. But you got to have a thought before you can do it. And while you're thinking, you got to breathe. Got to be part of the system. Hey, thanks again. Have a great Friday. Enjoy the Colorado weather. Enjoy wherever you're at with a positive thought. And the first step you take, make it a positive one, directed in a place towards something that makes you better. This is Lowell White, your host of 360 Mindset Performance Talk on KUHSdenver.com.
Just like a boat out on the water, the wind blowing you back to me.